your path demands you to walk through hell,
And I'm feeling
walk in as if you own the place.
Now you are just being ridiculous, Ed. I mean, really, they cannot kill the film Dawn of the Dead, Ed. It just doesn't work. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Miss Violet's Underworld, here again with the wonderful and lovely Deadhead Ed. And yes, you heard right. Today we are talking about the zombie classic, Dawn of the Dead. Seeing it as it is the season of mass consumerism, every 12 months we're forced to buy anything with a little bit of tinsel on it, or a robin, or a reindeer, or a Santa, or a snowman. Yeah, George Romero did not predict the future at all with this film, did he? Now, Dawn of the Dead, the original, has several different cuts. I have a couple of different ones. I have the Trilogy of the Dead box set over there behind me, and I have this cut here. I also have the remake. I do kind of like the remake. I'll talk about that briefly in a moment. But a seminal zombie movie with underlying themes of consumerism. The fact that it is set in a shopping mall. Apparently, urban legend has it that it comes from a conversation. One of George's friends owns the mall that it was filmed in, and rumor has it that he said if there was ever some sort of like catastrophe, he didn't say zombie apocalypse, obviously, but he said that if there was ever any kind of disaster, if you locked yourself in there, you could survive for quite some time, and that kind of sparked the idea of Dawn of the Dead. And just recently, going out shopping with a friend, we went to IKEA, and walking around it, it really was like a little town of bedrooms and cafes and all this, that, and the other just there. And I was looking around and I was like, this must have been what George Romero felt like in when he sparked the idea of Dawn of the Dead, because it was like that moment for me. I was walking around it, seeing the rooms all presented much like it is in Dawn of the Dead. There are a few sections where there's little faux rooms set up. It was very much like that. I had that kind of sensation and that kind of feeling about it. And it reminded me of Dawn of the Dead, so I decided to review it for this week's episode. Now, the story follows 4 survivors, 2 SWAT officers and 2 news reporters. They are... see if I can remember this. There's Stephen, more commonly referred to as Flyboy. There's Fran. There's Peter. And I can't remember the last guy's name. Oh, God. It's escaped me. I am sorry. I'm not functioning on full form today. But, it follows them as they try to escape. Is it Pittsburgh? Philadelphia. It's a big city. They're trying to escape by the WGON traffic news helicopter, because Flyboy, hence his name, is the pilot. So, the one thing that I can definitely say about this film is it moves at a slow pace to begin with. You meet the characters. There's a rather quite emotional scene in the basement of a tower block. Some very harrowing scenes. I mean, it's 70s harrowing type stuff, but I mean, the impact is still there. As the film trudges along, we find the 4 survivors meet up, they escape in the helicopter, and they make what is supposed to be a pit stop at a local mall. And bear in mind, I think it's 1977 this came out, 77, 78, shopping malls, big shopping malls, and I mean the big ones, were not a common thing, not as common as they are today. So for these people, this was a new thing. So they stopped off, and they, over the course of a night or two, there's no real time frame set for how much time passes with things, but they decide, between the 4 of them, with Fran very much protesting, that they're going to stay here for a while, just to hold up, see if things blow over, and they end up never leaving. They end up fighting for the place. The immortal line is spoken by Peter, and it is, when there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Until they realise this is worse, and then they go somewhere else. I think we can all agree on that over the last few years, can't we? But do I recommend this film? Of course. Of course I can recommend this film. It is a George Romero classic at his best. There are moments of comedy and slight little highlighty type things and shining a sort of a skewed lens on society, which you come to expect in a George Romero film. You know, each one has its own little subtle subtext of what's going on in the background is actually a reflection of what's going on in your world, which is some of the best film making and storytelling you can do. Is hold a mirror up to the world and say, this is not good. This is not how things should be. Those are some of the best films in my opinion. I give this, because of its datedness and the low budgetiness of it. It was low budget for its time as well. But when the zombies are blue-grey, I know Tom Savini, God bless him. Love you, Tom. Hope you see this episode. I love you. You are the king of splatter. But he did say in interviews and stuff that the paints that we using were really inconsistent. So some look blue, some look grey, some looked almost like, you know, covered in ash. It was very up and down. They had problems with it, which for a low budget film you work with what you've got, you know, which I can't fault them on that. But for me, it knocks it down ever so slightly compared to, I wouldn't say more modern films, but even films that just came out around about the same time and had around about the same sort of budget did slightly better effects. So for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I can highly recommend it. Go and check it out during the season of Christmas consumerism and enjoy. Until next week, I have been Miss Violet Impulse. This has been my Underworld, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Mwah. Bye bye, my poor tortured souls, and remember, don't get mad, get sadistic.
If your path demands you to walk through hell,
and I'm feeling
walk in as if you own the place.